Hey guys, welcome to LALoveCreative, and today we're talking about the Tamron 70-180 f2.8 for Sony. If you haven't, make sure you hit the bell so you can stay notified when we post new videos. Cue the intro. That's a wine break. If you're on quarantine, you know you drink a lot now. It's just part of quarantine. Now, recently I had a chance to test out the Tamron 70-180. I am a big fan of the Tamron lens lineup. I have the 28-75, I have the 17-28 millimeter, and I think what they're doing for the quality and the price is just really phenomenal. Now, the Tamron 70-180 is a awesome lens. I think it's a good replacement for the 70-200. I'll break that down later in the video. However, I think for the price, you're getting a lot of quality in such a compact telephoto lens. Now, I don't think every photographer needs a telephoto zoom. You can always get around with just having a 100mm prime or 85mm or whatever kind of lens you want. You don't have to have a zoom. But there are a lot of situations where a zoom can be very beneficial to you. For instance, I shoot weddings, I shoot interviews. It's really cool to have a lens that you can be further away and not so close to the subject. So it has a lot of benefits as far as video. When it comes to photography, a lot of fashion photographers use telephoto lenses because they compress the body and make people look a little bit more slimmer. So you could see that fashion really would like that. Now, the Sony 70-200 is an awesome lens. I love the G Master version of that lens, f2.8, just like the Tamron, and it's a great lens. I've used it on weddings, I've used it on fashion photography, interviews. However, it's a really pricey lens. It is $2,500. That's more expensive than most Sony cameras. And compared to the Tamron, which is only $1,200, you can see why people are comparing these lenses and trying to weigh out their options. Now, I recently had a chance to shoot with a model from an agency that I work with. Awesome shoot. We're obviously social distancing, but it was really fun to just get back to shooting. I've been trying to get back into shoots recently. Now, when it comes to image quality, the Tamron 70-180 is just phenomenal. All the Tamron lenses right now are just really good. I felt the image quality was comparable to the G Master. I honestly, if you put both of them side to side, I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. As far as the Tamron, obviously you're losing 20mm because it's 70-180 compared to 70-200. But with the crop mode on your Sony camera, I could see that never being an issue when it comes to video. And for me, I really don't care about losing 20mm. I rarely shoot anything higher than 100. So having a Tamron that goes from 70 to 180 is just awesome. As far as image quality, there's awesome contrast in the image. I love the color that comes from these lenses. I think sharpness with these lenses is something that a lot of these Sony lenses in general are really sharp. One of the ways I deal with the sharpness is I always put a black pro mist filter on my lenses. It is just a personal choice. You don't have to do it. I personally like it because it gives things a little bit more of a filmic and less sharp look, but it can be a stylized look, so I can see why a lot of people might not want to shoot like that. However, I love doing that with a sharp lens because it just cuts it down a little bit, but kind of keeps it still sharp. So I really like doing that with the Tamron lens. When it comes to build quality, that's one thing I'd have to say Tamron is not the best. These lenses are not cheap, but they don't feel like you could drop them. Like, they don't feel droppable. And I'm a clumsy ass dude, so like, they're not really, I'm not confident in the build quality of these lenses. So if you really want something that feels like a tank that's gonna actually, last for a long time, I would not probably go to the Tamron. I would spend a little bit more money and get the 70-200 G Master. I personally think the Tamron is okay with their build quality. Sigma has way better build quality, but as long as you're not super clumsy, which I am, I think it should be okay. But on the flip side, the build quality of the Tamron 70-180 is significantly lighter than any other 70-200. So I felt like the 70-180 was like the same weight as my Tamron 28-75. So there's that. So if you don't want like a really heavy lens, then the Tamron is a better choice. But if you want something that's gonna last longer, then I would go something like the 70-200 G Master. When it comes to autofocus, I love Tamron's autofocus. Yes, it's not as fast as a native Sony lens, but I would really say at this point, it's fast enough for most of the things that I'd be doing. It's really fast in video. It's very fast when I'm shooting photography at wide open. It's just really fast. I never had any issues with Tamron's autofocus. And I feel like this is a great example of Tamron just giving you so much in such a small package. And I really appreciate what they're doing with their lens setup, and the autofocus is just awesome on this lens. One of the things I will say about the Tamron that I'm not a big fan of, and which makes me wish that Sigma would come out with something like this, is the Tamron is still focused by wire. I really like manually focusing when I'm doing video, and the focus ring on the Tamron is in the back, and it's focused by wire, and it's not easy for you to manually focus. So I'm hoping Sigma or some other brand comes out with a 70-200 that would have a better focus ring for video work that I do. That way I can use the same lenses on my camera that I use for my videos, and same lenses I use for photography. One of the quirks, I can't say that word. One of the things you might not like about this lens is the Tamron 70-180 doesn't have any type of steady shot or stabilization. When you're shooting telephoto, if you zoom in on something, usually it brings a lot of little micro jitters into the image. That's why stabilization is really good to have in telephoto lenses. It's not a real big deal for me. If you do want stabilization, I would go with the G Master version of this lens. But for me, most of the Sony bodies that I would be working with this lens have in-body image stabilization, so that's enough for the work that I do. I love shooting with this lens. I love being able to punch in onto the model, especially when you're social distancing. I think it's a great move to do, having a lens like this, so you don't ever have to be that close to the model, and you can wear your mask and just be further away. I think the image quality of the Tamron 70-180 is amazing. Sharpness is great. Color that comes out of it is awesome lens. And on top of that, I think the price for this lens is awesome. $1,200 for a 70-200 equivalent, basically, compared to the G Master, which is f2.8, just like the Tamron, and is $2,500. I think Sony's going to have to re-examine their lenses moving on in the future, because right now their lenses are so expensive that I'm finding a lot of photographers are just going non-native with their lenses. And I just feel like they might want to make these lenses a little cheaper, or I'm probably never going to buy any of them. So that's all I have to say about the Tamron 70-180. I love shooting with this lens. I think it's better than the G Master in a lot of ways, at least better bang for your buck. Let me know if you have any questions about this lens in the comments below, and I will see you next time. See you later.